Good evening, fellow Ambazonians, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to this very broadcast uh, where we observing and giving the last honors to the second in command of the government of Amazonia, the President, Vice President Eric Ateh. This is an emotional evening for the nation of Amazonia. A lot for us to talk about. I'm sure by now you would have seen some of the images we shared from yesterday night's event from the church, that's St. Peter's Catholic Church in Minnesota, right into the auditorium where the vigil, wake keep, we have sufficient report with you. And we are currently trying to establish connections to ensure that we can get some live images of the interment and also the reception. We're communicating on the ground. So much is happening in Minnesota right now. We have people who have traveled from all the different parts of the world. You know, the vice president is a prince. It's a prince from Santa. And so you have everywhere there's a lot of traffic. I'm trying even to communicate with members of the government that are there to represent us. And communication is very challenging because they have been stuck in traffic. Wherever from leaving the church to the mortuary or cemetery and where he's supposed to be buried, the traffic is unimaginable. The images we are receiving here is only an evidence that this was a great man. We have even CPDM loyalists who are that are a part of the family because he's from a very big family that have traveled from Yaoundé, Cameroon. And I must tell you, in Minnesota right now, is a mixed multitude. The flag of Amazonia is flying. The government is fully represented. The medal will be given and placed on him before the medal from the president will be placed on him before he goes. And so there is a serious, I just like to notify you what's happening. I'm giving you situational report right now of what is happening in Minnesota. There are two major forces right there. You have the CPDM loyalists, special institutionists, federalists, all of them, some from Cameroon, and Ambazonians. So it's not an ordinary rendezvous, but it's important because the will of the man is being done the way it should. So who is the vice president is the question a lot of people want to answer. To me, he was more like an elder brother. From the moment I knew him and the way he treated, he was one of the backbones of ABC Amba television. He fought at every given instant so that this TV would not be hijacked by naysayers, coup plotters, those who are seeking to have their way or the highway. Indeed, he's a great loss. So I'll tell you a brief story and I bring to you a documentary, the very first documentary that I produced in 2020 with the vice president. You know, after the APNCs, Scoopies, had failed in their attempt to topple the government of President Sako in 2019, Scoopers had to transform in many different ways. They went about trying to paint an image of President Sisiko, and part of that image was to tell the world that he is some sort of Mandela, and therefore the world should allow Sisiko to lead us in prison. At the time, Sisiko was in active backdoor negotiations with subordinates of the colonial administration. And so Scoopists and APNCs and lovers of Sisiko were trying at every instant to push the narrative that he's some sort of Mandela. The narrative didn't work. And one of the reasons it would not work because you had a person like Vice President Eric Ateh, who was well learned, who understood the history of the historical bearings of apartheid and has a great insight. A lot of people didn't know the Vice President had a degree in political science before getting to do IT as an IT technician and software engineer. Most people are not aware of that. But he proved it every time he had the chance to analyze the struggle in comparison with other conflicts of the world. So sometime around late 2019, in early 2020, I saw an article on Facebook. I had not known him. At the time, he was the press sec of President Sarko before he was appointed the director of cabinet. And he proactively went out to educate the people of Ambazonia in comparison of Sisiko, Ayub Tabe, and Mandela. Strikingly, his article single-handedly quelled the narrative that by some means Sisiko Julius Ayub Tabe had suddenly become a Mandela in Ambazonia. So when I saw the article, I communicated with some members of the communications department at the time, with Nelly. A lot of you would have known who Nelly was at the time. So I found out, who is this man? Because that's my first time. What, very intelligent. We're all trying to push and the right narrative. And I'm like, who is this man? So intelligent, writing such an article. So Nelly told me he was recently appointed. Prior to that time, he was working as Defense Security Chair of ASC. So Nelly linked me up with him and I spoke with him. So when I spoke to him for the first time, late 2019, early 2020, I realized at that time he was one of the highest donor of the government. In fact, in 2020, if I'm not mistaken, he was the top draftee of the government. He drafted about 20 something thousand US dollars for the year 2020. So as I was talking to him, I'm like, first of all, I've seen some of your videos. You have an alarming voice, a wonderful voice. You seem very sound with the article that you've written. And I'm thinking that we should transform this article into a documentary because history should be written that we made this documentary with you and you change the narrative with a single article. All the scoopers of Sisiko Julius Ayub Tabe were shut up. I'm sure you want to listen to that article. The voiceover you're going to hear there is a voiceover of Nelly that was with the communications department at the time. And then you're going to listen to the vice president. That was the very first time he came on ABC on an official documentary that I produced. Late 2019 into 2020, that was when we produced this documentary. Right after that, we'll come with some brief report. We'll get some commentaries from the lawyers that are here. We'll come with some brief reports and then try to see if we can connect you live with Minnesota. I am currently in communication with all the government officials that are in Minnesota right now. It is heavily raining there. We are receiving some images that we're going to show you, and we want to try to get some live images. So stay tuned. Watch this documentary, and so you understand an aspect of this great man who once lived the surface of the earth, who dedicated his life, his substance, his talent, his everything to ensure that his people will be free from the clutches of French Cameroon's brutality and cruelty. Stay tuned.